Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew. Austin will not be joining us today, so it's just me alone. And there's lots happening in the market, the news. A lot of it's political. We're going in another lockdown here to force people to take vaccines. So it's a political thing that's at play right now. That's the biggest news. And to be quite honest, we avoid most of that unless it has specific application to what we're doing. And it does to our market model mindset, because we do look at Agenda 2030. We look at World Economic Forum. We look at the players in all of that, and they're right on track. So we've modeled our portfolio out of that to understand the parts that we find are good. Like, I'm not interested in buying any big pharma. That's not my thing. For me, it's always critical how you make your money, who you support, the management, the teams, the good or bad that they do. And quite honestly, big pharma is somewhere I'm not interested. I think the easiest way to put that and to answer that is to look at all the lawsuits. And it's not just big pharma. It's also McKinsey, which was involved. They paid $600 million. Purdue Pharma, I think they're up to $2 billion. And the rest of them we'll find out, including the FDA, who's had ethical reports out on them for their approval and promotion knowingly of the addiction and the issues dealing with OxyContin. So whenever someone is looking critically and having a mindset of evaluating things, I always go back to one of the tried and true ones, and it's Herbert Spencer, and it's a fantastic quote. And there it is. There's a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation. Now, this was actually coined by Herbert Spencer, but British philosopher William Paley was given a lot of credit for it. But like all things in life, it actually goes much, much further back from there. It goes back to Tacitus, Roman historian, and his was basically contempt prior to investigation was a reference to Christianity. So you'll find many of these types of motivation quotes or really thoughtful quotes that people claim to have, or they tend to come back from the Greek philosophers. There's a lot to learn there. So I always laugh when people don't know their history, are not interested in history, and think when someone says something interesting, oh my God, that's fascinating. How'd they come up with that? Well, they probably regurgitated it. But this one's great because it taps on, if you want to have an opinion on something, there's a lot of work to be done. And critical thinking requires a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy. And for a lot of people, it's not really that motivating or interesting. It's easy to see from someone. I'll just ask them, well, who told you that? Where'd you get that information from? Unfortunately, nowadays, 98% of the time, TV. So I got my information from TV, and why would they lie to me? This is the most disturbing crisis that we face today because of the influence of mass media, the proliferation of mass disinformation, and the basically ignoring and ignorance of actual facts, actual stats, actual data out there is leading us down a very precarious road. And I have to be careful how I put this and how I say this, but I choose to live my life that if I have a 99.9% chance of being fine today, that's pretty good. I'm not going to waste my effort on something that might affect me in a 0.0007% chance or a 0.0004% chance. These are so minute that it just shows a terrible lack of judgment and lack of understanding of stats. Now, that being said, and this is the part where mental issues, mental health, delusion, or also just fear comes into play. I have a big fear of flying. Now, the chances of me dying in a flight are slim to nil. Now that they're forcing mandates, it's vaccines to get on a plane, it's even lower. But before that, the chances of dying in a plane crash for someone is so shockingly small. And I think that even there's a study here from the NTSB, the Aviation Safety Network. They're saying that the odds of dying in a commercial plane crash is 1 in 29.4 million. And that even if you're in a plane crash, that, and this was 2017, but it gives you a bit of a somewhere to basis, a foundation, said even in a plane crash, you have almost a 95% chance of living. There's a 95% chance of living. To me, that sounds astoundingly high. So, I mean, we won't get into the depth of how did they come up with that number, but that's 5%. So even if there's a plane crash, there's a 5% chance that you'll die. People have decided to shut down the world for a 0.007 to 0.04% chance that people will die. And we know that what those comorbidity factors are if you like reading medical journals and if you actually look at the CDC reports. And whether or not you agree with WHO or CDC, that's beside the point. I mean, they're both political organizations. They're not based on what you think they are. And there's plenty of evidence to that, but we won't get into that either. This is just about risk, because when you're talking about how to live your life, the mindset to have, you're talking specifically about the market, that's all statistical relevance. I mean, it's what's the statistical probability of the sun coming up today? What's the possibility of this market doing this, doing that? That's all that we do. And that plays a massive role in our lives that a lot of us don't even understand. Because when you're talking about modeling, when you're talking about the stock market, when you're talking about behavior, this is all statistical probability. Most of us don't look at events in that way, like, oh, I wonder if I should ride a motorcycle without my helmet. Well, you know, people would see enough research if you spend a bit of time and you Google and you go, hey, listen, the chance of being in a car accident or this, or a motorcycle accident or this, if I wear a helmet, my safety goes through the roof. It's an add-on security. Doesn't take a lot of effort. People are not doing that today at a shocking level that is causing a lot of irreparable harm. But once again, if you are someone who enjoys actual data and looking at it, and you thought, okay, there is a horrible, deadly pandemic that's wreaking havoc on the world, why did Canada have record immigration last year? Which is true. So if we're facing the worst fears that this planet has ever faced, that we have to shut down, we have to vaccinate all these people with a drug. Everyone has to wear these pieces of paper on their face, which even the NIH has come out and said are essentially useless, which people ignore as well, and the media keeps on pushing out. Why is there massive immigration primarily led from the two places that, one, India, where the Delta variant originated from, and two, from China? So we'll just put that out there for the curious of us as to why, how could that be? If we had people dying in the streets, and if there was Ebola, which has a massive death toll, you wouldn't have to convince anyone. You wouldn't have to spend hundreds of billions of dollars. You wouldn't have to give media tens of millions of dollars. I don't care who's responsible. I don't care why they're doing it at this point. It'll reveal itself at whatever point it will. But this is causing irreparable harm to people knowingly. I mean, there's lots of not terribly bright bureaucrats out there, but they're not all stupid. They know the stats. They know what's going on. There's a bigger play at action. And that doesn't mean I don't mind. Go take a vaccine. I don't mind. Go for it. I don't think there's anything nefarious about it. That the far crazy, either side of the craziness of it. It's just people that understand basic stats and understand basic risk are not up for it, which is also why the highest grouping of people from Carnegie Mellon's last study, highest group of people who will not take this shot are PhDs. So anyways, something to chew on, because it's something that is in the news nonstop, as well as Afghanistan. And I don't like either way that that's being played out. We shouldn't have been there in the first place. Two, how we left was terrible. This all does matter, and it all does matter in the market. So when I come back to mindset, and I'm doing this too because it is a very frustrating time for people, and people are waking up certainly a lot more. And as they keep on pushing this down, more and more are coming to wake up a bit. But I want to stress on to people is critical thinking is the most important thing one can do. Why did someone tell you the information? Where are the links? What benefit do they have? Why, like, are they trying to harm, not harm? All these are interesting things. If you can't answer why you've made a decision, or if your response, which is one that you see a lot of, is just name calling. You're a misogynist, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're a anti-vaxxer, you're a whatever. This is about as low IQ as one can get because you don't have a response. You don't know why. You're just parroting some sort of idea that you can't even defend your actions. And I don't expect everyone in the world to have a defense for their actions. They don't really need to. But if you're making critical decisions on your life, I would think that people would want to just be curious as to, is it true? Is this, why can't we have a debate on this? Like, why can't we have the doctors, the tens of thousands of doctors, why can't we have them on talking about this? Why can't we talk about ivermectin? Why can't we talk about treatment of some of these health issues? Why can't you talk about any of these things? And that, like anything, once you can't talk about something, there's probably something there. If you make it illegal to discuss something, it also opens the door to the craziest of conspiracies because you've given them ammo. You've given them exactly what they want. And without going into too much more about this and getting too, huffy, this is a total strategy of authoritarian type regimes. You see them do this, and they do it on purpose, and they've done it throughout history. And I'm happy to share any of the sources if you are really excited about this kind of push. Is what they do is they do the conflicting statements to drive people a little bit crazy. Those that love stats and look and go, look, they're telling you right here now in this clip, and then a week later they'll say the exact opposite. And they'll do that on purpose because it's a form of demoralization. And for most people, they'll just submit. And that's what's happening right now, that despite all of the evidence contrary, they'll just submit because I just want life to go back to normal. And it's not going to. It didn't on the first time they promised you that. It didn't on the second time. It didn't on the third. It's not. So the question is how long are you going to keep on believing people when they're not keeping their end of the bargain? And if it was a stock and they're not only not meeting milestones, but they're missing them on such a massive level, I would not put a penny towards them. So why does that matter? And it shouldn't have to be that we're in this situation that we're in, because this isn't rocket science. Like, it isn't. It just simply isn't. But to those that do apply stats and do look at fundamental basis of how the system works, who are the players involved? What's their track record like? Not good for most of these, people involved. What have they said 6 months earlier, a year earlier, 2 years earlier? You'd be amazed. So how does that reflect on the market then when there's massive misinformation, maybe on purpose, maybe not, who knows? There's going to be chaos. We've got an election coming up, more chaos. And we're getting the backhanded compliment, as people would say when people do their pickup line type thing, is, hey, I'm going to give you some free money. I'm going to offer you this, but I'm also going to take away your freedom. So these are all tactics, and these, once again, the level of data that we have today, and people think, oh no, they can't predict this and that. They absolutely can. They know how effective media works. They know that simply putting a little bit of here and there into a movie or into a song, how much effect it has. So it's our job to steady yourself each day and to think, where do I want to spend my effort? Do I want to spend my energy and effort worrying about an event that is less than 1% probability of occurring? No, I'm not going to put a ton of money into that either. I mean, it's unlikely. I don't worry every morning whether or not an asteroid is going to hit the Earth, although there's a probability it could, because you'd go crazy if you worried about all those risks. Our brain is meant to focus on the larger task at hand. We have bigger priorities right now. And anybody who wants to go through those numbers, feel free. They won't. They're not interested in it. They don't want to. And for me, I do want to, because sooner or later, this will come out. And sooner or later, the truth always does. I mean, you can lie for only so long. and that matters. And I choose not to live that way. And I think it's important. And I have to be a bit vague here, but listen, this is a very important crux in time. I've talked about it a number of times. It's not going to get any easier. It's a reason why I've picked the sectors I have. It's a reason, I'll just throw in here, like phosphate. There's a reason why fertilizer is going to be critical, why there's going to be food supply shortages. They've already told us that it's coming. Why there's going to be cybersecurity issues. They've already told us that. They've got an amazing track record of predicting this future. They've told us that. You can go read their dissertations. They meet every year to discuss these things, and they've already told us what's coming. So none of these are conspiracy theories. They're all in writing. They've got it all written down. Happy to share it with you. But listen, there's a good way of making money off it, and that's the way I look at it. So this was a bit gloomier than I thought. And I didn't want it to be this gloomy because critical thinking often is, and it's hard to wake people up. And a lot of people don't want to wake up, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean you get to force yourself and your will on others. The best way to encourage people is by action and seeing people who are living a good life, that are happy, that are doing well for the people around them, and not encouraging delusion, but helping people. And over here, that's what we do. And it's trying to include people, even if they're not well, to get them the help they need. And that is a big crisis that we face today, is a mental health issue right now in North America. And that should be the forefront of people, instead being divided, of taking a step back, realizing the level of stress that people are under and is being forced upon them. And to take a step and breathe and go, listen, I feel this level of stress. Imagine other people who have far much more. They've got their kids they're worried about. They've got their job they're worried about that they might be losing. There's a million things. Is if we can take a step back and go, listen, a little bit of kindness today will go a long way. It helps a lot. So I'll stop preaching, but it was just something I needed to get off because things are ramping up a little bit more. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I know today wasn't as much about stock, but it was a bit more about mindset and a little bit more about critical thinking, which at the end of the day, that's a big part of what this channel is about. It's not just about making people money. I mean, that's great. And I want to position people to make some money. It's a passion of mine. And I want people to get access to this junior market that looks good. And we've had a lot of success with, and it doesn't guarantee future success, but we've had some success. And I want to share these stories with people that show people that are changing the world and doing good things. And, if you like what we do, please subscribe, share it with people as well, because we want like-minded people. I don't mind if someone wants to debate me. I doubt it. They're going to want to, but feel free to come on, send me an email. I'd love to chat, but I'm looking for like-minded people, and I want to do right by them. I'm not interested in the rest. I'm not here to change someone's mind. Too much energy and effort. I'm here to find the people that have a vision in the future, that want to push forward, and have a little bit of kindness today for themselves and for the people around them, because of the stress that's being induced upon them. And it is being done to you. And that might sound a bit conspiratorial, but that's my absolute conviction, belief. I think if people can take a step back and try to think of all the positives that we have in common, rather than the differences, and shake our head a bit, turn off a lot of the stuff, and look at the people around you and think, hey, it's not so bad here. I think we'll get a lot farther away in our life. Anyways, thanks for letting me rant a little bit today. I hope it's a good day. We're coming into the end of the month. I know September, October, things are going to be really rocking. We'll have a lot more news. It's a bit quiet right now. People tend to take a lot of holidays. School's going to be starting again. And, hit that like, hit the subscribe, share it, and reach out to us anytime. Take care.